OBS doesn't like M4A files, so I got to get those transferred so we can have our cool jazz music. Okay, Twitch. Hello, Twitch. Hello, CloudHub. Hello, Facebook. Still, somehow. Hello, DLive. Hello, remaining days of Periscope. And I think I'm still Twittifying somehow, some way. It's fun to have you guys here today at my new partial location. I'll be back at the farm when spring springs, but right now I am elsewhere across the platforms of the world and just checking in to make sure. Hey, Larry. Hey, Uncle Larry's Chit Chat. Hey to Dave and Denise. Hey to the other folks who joined on yesterday. You know what? I'm so excited. I think I got 216 views, which is like better than like a lot of broadcasters right now. You guys really showed up and showed out and shared. Actually, Lair, would you do me a favor and post on the Telegram rooms that I'm on? I forgot to do it. I think that's probably why I got, hey, Terry Fountain, thanks for all the things you share. But if you guys can post in a couple of Telegram rooms, Pepper's and Andrea's and Lisa's, that would be great because I forgot to do that. And I forgot to put up a notice in CloudHub. I so look forward to the day when CloudHub has live streaming and you're just on the platform and somebody pops up and makes your day. We're having construction going on, so you're going to hear like stuff happening in there. But in any event, we're back. And I got to say, yesterday's broadcast, I'm thinking about having them all transcribed and turning some of these things into a book. Books, maybe more than one. What do you think? Thank you, Larry. I really appreciate your help. I'm not the best self-promoter. I'm not the best one to remember to do that. I just am so busy trying to think about how to, bring you something that's worth your time. In any event, I'm glad you're here. And yesterday's broadcast was really powerful because I had to reduce everything back down to what is the reason why we're here and why we're doing this. Do I just need to take oxygen up? Do I just need to get your attention and have some need for relevance? Or is fear-free living something that is an attainable reality for people? And I believe it is. I really do. But the problem with the idea of fear-free living is that people don't think it's a doable experience. It's a havable experience. It's an actual life path, a living, breathing version of you that lives in quiet, strong confidence instead of triggered fear, anxiety cycles. Yeah, Terry, I got to do that. I actually had some great guy off in another part of the country did a transcription for me, and it worked quite well. The problem is, do you know that I have like over 600 broadcasts, and a lot of them are on Periscope, and they're going to go by next week. And to go through them and figure out which ones are actually worth time to do, I got a little overwhelmed. But maybe I'll get to that in the coming days. In any event, as I started to say, yesterday's broadcast, I was able to bring it down into a condensed, basic beginning of understanding about why fear-free living is not a just a buzzword, but it's something that you can learn, and it's something that's related to. Hey, Uncle Larry's Chit Chat, woohoo, on DLive, very good. It's something that is attainable because, first of all, God commands us to live fear-free. So there must be a way to do it. And we have a lot of ideas about fear responses and what they mean and how we interpret them. And we have interpreted them. We have interpreted them in a largely negative context, a powerless context. And so that's why I'm trying to teach that fear-free living is the life skill. People teach you how to, or you figure it out. YouTube videos now. Have you noticed that? I don't know if there's generational transference of skill and experience as much as there is YouTube videos. But I think I do want to transfer this to you as a skill from one friend to another. But it kind of cracked me up the other day because my daughter has picked up the guitar and she's doing quite well. And so I have an Ovation that I'm not using right now. Here I am in Florida with my classical Cordoba guitar. So maybe I'll pull that out and play for you guys again soon. And so I said, but it's going to need new strings. And I thought normally I'd be all about my musical skill and transferring to her. How do you change guitar strings? But I said, like, okay, just go get a YouTube video, okay, and do that because I'm really busy. But so you can learn a lot on YouTube, but I think that we learn best in relationships. So am I in video? Am I on YouTube? Maybe you're watching today because that's one of the platforms I continue to stream on. But what we want to do is establish our learning based on relationship, based on community, based on authenticity, and not just the talking head on your screen. So I'm going to do my best to communicate to you why you should aspire to live fear-free and not just sort of fear-relieved. You know, most of us expect and experience that fear is just going to be part of our everyday life, but we experience it as anxiety. We experience it as unrest. We experience it as avoidance, procrastination. We can sometimes experience it in terms of panic. We can experience it in terms of restlessness. I mentioned that before, but that kind of really divided happening in our brain where we're going off in all directions because we don't have the capacity. Hey, Marcy, we don't have the capacity to settle in to a quiet confidence that is, my trauma scopes. Yeah, Guy, I got to get to those. Yes, I think I need to get back, make some decisions about these scopes and transcribing them. But I'm trying to think of various ways we live out of a fear state, and maybe we don't know it. And I did mention procrastination and avoidance. And we don't realize that procrastination is a very powerful form of fear-involved living. Because avoidance is when we avoid things, it's for a powerful reason. You know, occasionally you might avoid for a positive reason, like, I'm going to avoid doing that today because I've got a special time. I want to do it tomorrow. I'm going to avoid almost like saving something great for later. That's like delayed gratification. Avoidance is the unconscious, non-conscious very often, set of behaviors that come into play when we have decided on some level it's unsafe or unpleasant or unfruitful to deal with something in our life. And the big fat old word was procrastination. I think avoidance is a much more nuanced word because it helps us realize how smart we are, how tricky we are, how many ways we allow fear responses, small and large, to shape the fabric of every day. Now, when you have to go off to school as a kid, there are all these life skills you learn. I'm not even a fan of school, but I can think about in general the idea of what you're going to need in order to be successful in that environment, right? What you got to have in your backpack, what kind of lunch you're going to pack, what kind of shoes you're going to need for the playground, what kind of schoolwork you're going to need to bring out and what quality in order to give it to the teacher. What kinds of relationships are you going to have to navigate? All of these skills that have to do with functioning as a student. And so they're life skills incorporated with the daily job of getting up and doing your job, taking care of your stewardship of your life, and maybe going off to school or whatever it is. And things that you just realize, I got to know how to deal with this in order to do that. Well, my friends, I really believe that this idea of dealing with what makes you feel unsafe, what gives you the warning messages that turn your body on, send adrenaline and other chemicals rushing through to trigger a fight or flight acute stress response thing, this is dealing with that. And not merely just managing a constant state of unrest and lack of safety. That's something that should be mandatory. We should be teaching that. We should be imparting that. It's imparted powerfully by people around us who live differently. This is what I'm hoping, that as I resist and don't wear masks, that somehow that quiet example is impactful for people around me. Maybe they're mad, maybe they're this, but they're saying, she's not doing this. Wow, she walked right in. They had their sign on the door. She walked right in and didn't even bat an eye. And I mean, if we go down that trail, I really believe that most of the people who have the signs on the doors, they're doing it for liability reasons, and they're doing it because of pressure from other businesses and social justice signaling. But I think, and I really do believe, that most shop owners and people out there have no interest whatsoever in policing you over that. It's the thing they have to do. It's the warning label on the stupid lamp you buy that if you turn it on and plug it in while you're in the bathtub, you could get electrocuted. The same way with the enemy is creating around us a series of restrictions to say, if you do or if you don't do this, this could happen. You could be punished. You could be shamed. You could be called out. You could be told to leave the store, right? And it's not until you do it anyway that you find out that there's way more space out there than you realized. It's the same and way more freedom than you ever took responsibility to get and to use, right? But we never find that out if we just go silently into the compliant life. And compliance with fear is very often based on a lot of signals that we have from inside, and a lot of signals that the enemy makes sure to put up. Threats. Now, conform. Now, conform to the fear state. Conform to this. Don't ever deal with that. Don't look that in the eye, because, and it's not until you get yourself some freedom, and it's not until you deal and push that you realize you have way more than you know. It's like with our Intel drop board, and it was always saying, you have more than you know. You have more than you know. And what have we learned in the silence, in the prevailing silence since November from the Intel board? We have more than we know. We understand more than we thought. We can add and subtract from information coming, put 2 and 2 together, and begin to see a pattern that spurs us on to greater freedom of thought and greater freedom of resistance against the propaganda media, right? Same thing. Fear-free living is a life skill that has to be taught, that has to be mentored. You want to see it. When I see people living like that, it blows my mind. And when I see them even more in an area where I still hold back, it challenges me, and I go, well, if it's good enough for them, why not me? Right? Why not me? The why not me is one of the first life skill lessons that you've got to get under your belt as you move into this. Because you're going to be learning stuff for the rest of your life. And either you're going to be reinforcing and relearning and relearning and relearning and relearning all of the negative things that forced you into the prison of your fear, or you're going to be unlearning them and learning brand new things about what's possible for you. And so one of the first things related to the life skill of learning how to live free from fear and learning not just to manage an upset state and not just cope with these waves of panic and fear that seem to come out of nowhere, You have to learn the skill of why not me? Why not me? Why couldn't I? Why couldn't I be really free? Why couldn't I be able to have joy, confidence, and power in facing the biggest demon in my life? Why couldn't I be the one telling that story? Why couldn't I be the one dealing with this and that or the other thing and setting the example? Why couldn't I be the one without the mask like that lady? Why couldn't I be the one who goes, nah, I don't want your vaccine. I got an immune system. Why couldn't I be the one who asks the questions in the room? Why couldn't I be the kid who goes, you know, that emperor got no clothes? Why couldn't I be the one who is shameless? Your first assignment, apart from beginning to understand what I'm telling you about how fear functions and how the fear response in your body is a gift to you, but it must be stewarded. The responses that come in your body come because your body is designed lovingly and beautifully designed to keep you safe from things that could harm you. But if you believe the wrong stuff about that, your body will be constantly triggered because it believes what you believe. So your job as a fear-free liver lover is to manage and steward yourself, your beliefs, your past, your choices, your traumas, your relationships, so that your brain learns new responses. But if you're stuck in the that could never be me, that I can never be free, I've lived with panic my whole life, I don't have another paradigm, I have X levels of chronic abuse issues, I have complex trauma, I have this, I can't do that, I can't drive there, I can't go there, I can't leave that, I can't, because that's been what you learned and you've known your whole life, you'll have a really hard time moving forward as quickly as you'd like to in the fear-free life skill development department. So your first commitment needs to be, why not me? I will, I can. And right in the face of your biggest emotional trigger, to feel it, to go, well, there it is again. Wow, freight train of panic. I've well, I get what you're saying. Yeah, we have the Christian interpretation where we have to like go, well, the Bible says fear this and fear that. But what I'm talking to you about is something much more important, and it's about the relationship of.
He's about ready to break the marble because you want shiplap there. I don't want the marble taken out.
No, I've already had this conversation. I've got it.
Taking it out.
I understand.
You want the marble.
Would you like to come in the middle of my live stream and have a conversation with everybody? So in any event, they're breaking the marble. Fear-free living at its finest. The point I'm saying to you is that your body is designed to react in reality to what really is an issue. But if your version of reality isn't real, you're going to be reacting to all kinds of things. Okay? That's my point. Fear the Lord, yeah. Be concerned about running in front of a car, yes. But when you also understand the larger truth of who you belong to and why you're in relationship and why you're covered in the blood. So my fear is I don't mess with that. That is awful. Awe-filled. I am awe-filled. It's more than I can handle. But in my relationship with God, I am also accepted into the household of the beloved. Do you see? And so all of these things factor together as the reality that a lot of what we fear isn't what our body was designed to fear. Okay? And so your first assignment is to take a look is your first assignment is to take a look at the fear response that is the strongest for you right now, and imagine that you are a different person. What would you be doing if you weren't afraid of that? Why not me? What would you be doing right now if you weren't afraid of X? What kind of life would you be living? Where would you be going? What would you be saying? Who would you be communicating with? And then you want to put in the words, why not me? Why not now for a process? Why not a great way to live the rest of my life? You know, that's what you start with. And you go from there into a learning modality that the rest of your life related to what has hung you up, held you up, terrified you. It took you a while to learn it, so you can learn to live out of, again, yes, Darren, that's right, the new creation reality of how am I fixed before God? How am I placed? Where do I live out of? I lived out of all these things and all these definitions of myself in the world and what could hurt me and what couldn't hurt me. And now I'm learning to live out of a new place. And then we have to figure out what place that is. What life philosophies and teachings really hold water, and what are, touchy-feely, but not necessarily the foundation you want to build on, right? But in any event, this is what we're pursuing, because in this season, right, where the national picture is so surreal and triggering in many ways, we have to be equipped to carry on with what we have immediate responsibility and stewardship over. And we need to be more empowered than ever to be super hyper effective and present. Hyper effective and present for that level of influence, that level of joy. I'll just share this little thing with you. I was so terrified to perform for people. Lots of acute stress response if I would ever sing and play, and yet that was my deepest dream. And I remember when I would actually and I was did some concerts and things, and I would usually solo guitar and everything, when I would actually press past the whole shooting match of my responses to the deep fear that being in front of people could kill me when I sang, I would get there. And there were times when the presence of God and the pleasure, let's just go, just the pleasure of being free to use my gift was so profound. It would resonate through my whole body. Just like this thing from, remember the movie Chariots of Fire in the 90s, I guess it was, or 80s. And the missionary guy was going off to China, Eric Liddell, but he was also running in the Olympics. And his sister was so concerned that he would not do the thing he should do by going off to China because of this distraction of being an Olympic runner. And he said, and Eric Liddell, I remember it forever. I'll always remember it. Don't worry your pretty little head about it, Ginny. He's talking to his sister. I know I'm made for China. I was made for China, he said. But God also made me fast. And he said, and I feel his pleasure when I run. You've been made for something that releases God's pleasure in you. And for me, very often it's when I sing and play and I'm transcend myself and I'm so present in that experience of bringing that to the world that despite all of the torment I went through to get there, there would be these moments where like, God also made me fast and I feel his pleasure when I run. God also made me to sing and to play. And sometimes it would be so profound to feel his pleasure, His pleasure with me. Him being so pleased that I was so free finally. Him being so pleased that the gift was unlocked. Him being so pleased that I looked the scary giant in the eye. Him being so pleased that I had the hard conversation where I had to tell somebody to back off finally and I wasn't behaving like a doormat. Him being so pleased that I had stepped up to the plate. Him being so pleased I dealt with the dirty closet. Him being so pleased that I took care of business. And me enjoying so much his pleasure. This is the reward of learning to live fear-free. The pleasure of God and the pleasure of enjoying him, enjoying you. That's the reward for learning to be fear-free. So if step one, what would you be doing right now if you weren't afraid? Why not me? Why not? And every day you learn to do something that scares you because you got to go to school. That's how we learn. And then you find out you have more than you thought. There's more possible for you than you ever dreamed of, right? So again, you can follow me at julielavender.com on my videos and live streams. I'm still on YouTube for now, but I'm on DLive, Twitch, and Cloud Hub Channel 129. And I will be hanging out, DLive, Twitch, where else? I don't know. I guess I'm still on Twitter somehow. What a graveyard that is. Place. But maybe I'm bringing a little life. So, I'll see you tomorrow. I got to go deal with some marble. Make sure that I'm still cool with my hubs over it. Anyway, I will see you soon. You know what you need to do now.